Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be talking about intentions versus outcomes. So, usually we have an individual. There's a certain outcome that surrounds an individual. Typically, there is somebody who perpetuates such an outcome, whether it is you or somebody else who surrounds you. Hypothetically, let's say it's somebody else. You are a victim of something. Would you personally rather be a victim of somebody with bad intentions towards you or good intentions towards you? Personally, although it sounds contradictory, I would probably take the dude with the bad intentions. And here's why. One, you can actually avoid them more easily if you don't trust them and think they have bad intentions towards you. You are more trusting of the person that you think has good intentions who will give you the same outcome as the dude with the bad intentions. Let's say this is the example. They blow up your house. One is your friend who decides to just lackadaisically make dinner, thinking nothing of it, and, they just blow up your house on accident. Or, what about the arsonist or something like that who deliberately blows up your house? Personally, again, I would rather deal with an arsonist who wants to blow up my house, because the outcome still results in my house being blown up, but you are morally torn with your friend who blows up your house versus the individual who purposefully blows up your house. So you've got, say, like this arsonist. You can try them for the crime. You know their intentions are bad. You know the outcome of what they intend to do. But when you have a friend, say somebody that you care about, you don't really know if you should press charges, or maybe you're morally torn. Maybe you're going to be, guilted out of not pressing any kind of charge because they are your friend. They did it out of more of a state of ignorance than intention. And I personally think that doing things out of ignorance and still harming people is actually worse than like just deliberately attempting to harm people. I think that it's like this inconsequential view of I can do whatever I want towards my friend and the outcome will basically not matter. Or it's, oh, I didn't expect this to happen. Oh my God. And we all do things that hurt other people out of ignorance, but it's probably one of the worst things you can possibly do. It's way worse than intending to hurt somebody. At least your intentions are accurate at that point. If you have a chaotic friend who destroys your house with inaccurate intention, you can't calculate for anything that they do. Whereas if you have someone who deliberately attempts to destroy your house because they're evil, or what you perceive as evil, then you'll be able to kind of figure out the situation way faster in both regards. Also, it appeals to the concept of betrayal. So it's just, I don't know, it compounds and compounds and compounds. But the worst things I've ever dealt with are feeling belittled because something bad happens to me that somebody does, and they do it out of ignorance or they don't mean to do it, so therefore it doesn't matter. Oh, they didn't mean to do it, Oh, they didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. That kind of thing. Oh, well, I'm in pain and I'm suffering for something that happened to me, but they didn't mean it, so it's okay, There's forgiveness in that. When in reality, I don't think there's any forgiveness in that. I think it's even worse, You should never, ever be ignorant. You should try as hard as you possibly can to get away from a state of ignorance. It's one of the worst states of mind you can be in. It is one of the most dangerous mentalities. It's one of the most confused mentalities. It means that you basically appeal to stupidity, a lack of information, and you're just as dangerous at that point as the arsonist who wants to blow up someone's house. At least they know what they're doing or have an intention that they know is going to be bad, all right? And they can choose whether or not to do the bad thing. But if you, as a person who's ignorant, do something bad without knowing you're doing it until it's too late, then it's a complete moral gray area. It's significantly worse in almost every capacity. And I've seen this happen a lot with family and friends, mainly. It's you have a family member and another family member hurts them, like hurts their feelings, destroys something of theirs on accident, whatever the case may be. Say you're younger and you still live with your parents or something, and then your parents are like, "Oh, well, they didn't mean it. They didn't mean it." Don't get too angry at them. They didn't mean it. They said sorry. They said sorry, so your pain is nullified. The belittlement that you feel right now is due to them saying sorry. In fact, I don't want people to say sorry to me. I don't want people to ever apologize to me. Like, I think apologies are empty no matter what. I think that you cannot say a word to show how you beg to be forgiven or how you have sympathy or how you are apologetic towards something that you perpetuated on an individual. So, like, if I accidentally hurt somebody, saying sorry is not going to relieve them of their injury. Like, it's the worst thing. But if I just choose to not be ignorant towards a certain potential outcome, which is when it starts getting crazy, and I'll explain that in a minute, then you're going to be more likely to calculate for things like that, and you'll be aware that an apology doesn't do anything helpful. It might maybe make them feel a little bit better, but will it actually help them out at all? No, you still hurt them. You still hurt the person. So I think that apologizing is terrible. I think that apologizing for something you can avoid doing to an individual is absolutely atrocious. I think you should try as hard as possible to calculate as much as possible by not doing something out of ignorance in someone else's space, to their body, etc. And I know it's very difficult because this is the weird part. It's when we get into the thing where we have to start calculating for all of these other variables that we don't know how to calculate for, and then we get paranoid about doing anything because we can't calculate for X, Y, and Z around person A and blah, blah, blah. It's when it gets way more complicated when you as an individual are trying to calculate for your own ignorance because you don't know what you're ignorant to, because your lack of knowledge might just not be you being aware of something. It's absolutely, like, insane. But I developed this perception when my family would have accidents occur in the house, and it would be like, oh, well, they didn't mean it. Or, you know what, like my ex would, like, hit me or something. Oh, I didn't mean it. You know, he would do it out of ignorance, not out of, you know, actually intending to hurt me. But the outcome is still the same, where you get hurt, you know? And reflecting on these variables, I'd rather have somebody just punch me in the face knowing that that's what they intend to do so I can avoid them in future, than to be in one of those abusive relationships or one of those venomous cycles where an individual that you love or that you know or that maybe is just a friend or something else is going to hurt you repeatedly because they're unaware of how they hurt you, and then they just apologize and you forgive them, and then the cycle repeats. I'd rather deal with true evil than love in that capacity. It's just way, way worse. Whenever I try to calculate for it, it's so unforgiving. And I don't know if it makes any sense to what I'm saying, but I think that personally, somebody hurting you is way, way less bad when you don't know them, when they're your enemy, when, you know, when you kind of expect the outcome of that. When you don't trust them and you expect that it could have occurred, and you don't expect an apology, and you don't have to expect any of these things that complicate the bad act or the bad outcome. And instead, you have your family, your friends, all these other things, or people that just appeal to ignorance, and they go like, oh, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean this. And that makes it way worse, because then all of a sudden you're, like, morally torn between being angry and or upset and or pressing charges for something that they do. And then on top of that, you have to deal with, like, other people trying to defend them in your inner circle, so it gets even worse. Whereas if somebody does something intentionally evil to you, then it's way less bad, because everyone will likely turn on them, or if other people are in cahoots, then you can turn on them without consequence. And that's why I believe that intentions and outcome are just the most misaligned perception ever. Like, I don't care if somebody has good intentions. I don't. I don't care if they're absolutely evil as sin. I just don't want them to affect my life. It comes into the whole, like, concept of moral dilemmas and stuff, or, like, morality, and, you know, what would be immoral to do to a person, or what would be justifiable, or, you know, if somebody does something out of ignorance, should you justify it? And I just don't think that it's justifiable. I think a bad outcome, somebody who hurts you, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever the case, if somebody hurts you, the outcome is the same. Like, in fact, I think it's even worse if they love you, because then again, it complicates things even more. It makes things even more traumatic. So in general, I would say that it's an absolutely atrocious concept. I don't understand why everybody thinks, like, you should forgive everybody all the time if they don't know what they're doing. I think it's way worse. I'd be more inclined to probably forgive a serial killer at that point, and I'm not willing to forgive serial killers, so why would I forgive somebody who, like, accidentally kills somebody when they're going to die in either direction? Another good example is death. Like, if somebody accidentally kills somebody, and then somebody else intentionally kills somebody, the outcome is still that there's a dead body, and that person who once had a life, a family, friends, everything built up for themselves up to that point, or maybe nothing, but let's say their own life, it's been taken away whether the person tried to kill them or whether it was an accident. The outcome is still the same. And this is why I think that when people have good intentions but they still have a bad outcome, I don't think it's any bit less justifiable at this point than you being like an absolutely evil individual. And in fact, evil people are at least self-aware. When you're ignorant, you're not self-aware. When you do something out of ignorance and it hurts somebody, you're not self-aware. Otherwise, you wouldn't do the thing. So I can't get my mind around it because I feel like it's such a reverse world where, yeah, we don't want evil people in the world. Like, I'm not saying I want anybody evil to exist in the space that I exist or that any of my loved ones exist or on the planet in general. But I'd rather have true evil exist that I can calculate for with the expectation that they're evil versus loving people who hurt me. Like, it's way worse. Way, way worse. So I know it doesn't make that much sense. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think that this is actually the mentality to have when it surrounds things like intentions versus outcomes. If I have bad intentions towards somebody, at least I can know that I'm a bad person and I'm calculating badly. You know, it's the whole concept of intentions versus outcome, and honestly, I'd rather have, in the wake of just a bad outcome, this only calculates with a bad outcome, I would rather have somebody who tries to hurt me than somebody who doesn't try to hurt me, because it just doesn't make any sense. I'd rather have somebody who isn't ignorant hurt me than somebody who is ignorant hurt me. You know, ignorant towards the fact that I can get hurt. Like, is that not sensible or is that insane? Please tell me what you think in the comments below. This is a concept that I've tried to explain to my family before and to the other people in my life, but I don't know if I explain it well or if they just don't believe that the same way I might, or, you know, if it's something just I haven't explored yet and there are all these like moral plot holes and stuff in it. It's not a perfect concept by no stretch of the imagination. I just think it's better to have somebody evil try and do something evil to you than somebody who doesn't have bad intentions towards you do something that hurts you. So yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. Tell me what you think in the comments below, but that was the video. So thank you so much for watching, my people. I hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, see you later.